Hi, thanks for being a part of our study today. We're in Hosea. Tomorrow we're going to finish up Hosea and we're going to talk about the heart of God. Today we're going to ask the question, what if God brought us into the courtroom like Hosea, being used by God, brought the people into the courtroom in his day? So what would his opening argument be like, Tony?
Hear the word of the Lord, O people of Israel, for the Lord has an indictment against the inhabitants of the land. There is no faithfulness or loyalty, and no knowledge of God in the land. Swearing, lying, and murder, and stealing and adultery break out. Bloodshed follows bloodshed. Therefore the land mourns, and all who live in it languish.
I can see somebody jumping up and going, what, me? Disloyal? And God says, here's the proof. Swearing, lying, murder, stealing, adultery, and the results are that people suffer daily and they don't get over it. But even worse is the phrase knowledge of God. And you'll find that phrase over and over in the book of Hosea. When we read Psalms, or if you were to read the books of Moses, you'll find the phrase the fear of the Lord. Now, the fear of the Lord and the knowledge of God are really kissing kin in terms of understanding. Fear of the Lord doesn't mean to cringe before God in fear. It means something else. Tony's going to read to us from Deuteronomy what it means.
You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your might. Deuteronomy 6:5.
So if loving God with all our being is really what it means to fear the Lord, then the knowledge of the Lord is pretty close. Let me give you a little illustration. Tony and I have been married for 43 years, just about. Got a couple more weeks for that to happen. Let's say that 43 years ago, I picked up a biography in the bookstore I like to read. It was called The Biography of Tony. And I read all about her. I even memorized her sourdough bread recipe, and I had that so I could repeat it. But I never met her. We never became friends. We never became lovers. We never produced children. We never had good times or fun times. All I did was read about her. Could you say I really knew her, or I just knew about her? When God talks about the people and he says, you don't know me, what he's really saying is, we don't love him, we're not his friend. We may have heads full of knowledge about God, but that doesn't mean that we know him. Now, just to drive home the point, Tony's going to read a couple more verses from Hosea.
My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge, because you have rejected knowledge. They have forsaken the Lord to devote themselves to whoredom.
So, to say we're back in court, and the person says, I object. No, it's not like that. Well, here's some evidence.
The more they increased, the more they sinned against me. They changed their glory into shame. They feed on the sin of my people. They are greedy for their iniquity.
So, did you hear the word glory? The greatest glory anyone can have is to be a friend of God. That's the greatest glory. But they rejected God, and his accusation was they were greedy for sin. They were greedy for iniquity. We need to ask ourselves, what are we greedy for? Are we greedy for more of God, more of that relationship, more of love with him? Or are we greedy for sin? Now, once he talked about this unfaithfulness, he went and he talked about how they moved. That phrase, whoredom, means they had blended themselves with the gods of the land. So, Tony, why don't you read that to us?
My people consult a piece of wood, and a divining rod gives them oracles. For spirit of whoredom has led them astray, and they have played the whore, forsaking their God.
Why do people leave a relationship with God, love and friendship with God, to pursue the emptiness of this world, like a stick, a divining rod? Well, the deal is, if we are only in it for what we can get out of it, then we want to shortchange the way and just bypass God and go to an idol who will give us what we want. And so idolatry, the root of idolatry is a substitute for God. We don't want to love God or be friends with God. Rather, we just want what we can get out of it, and we get a substitute that will give us quicker what we want. I hope I made that clear. There's a real danger in that kind of behavior. And it's seen throughout the world when people exchange, for example, in their day it was a stick, in our day it's money. When we do that, what we end up doing is we end up oppressing the vulnerable. We injure them. A couple of really extreme examples. One of them has to do with human trafficking. Money is behind that. Forbes magazine cites that human trafficking in the United States of America is a $150 billion business. When we shortchange a relationship with God and we go for the second best, the money, for example, we can do that to other people. Let's talk about another idol, addiction, all sorts of addiction. The word Baal means owner. How many people who are addicted to something can say, yeah, it owns me? Hosea talked about idol worship, and he said this to the people. He said, you're kissing calves. That's Hosea chapter 13. Now, we don't kiss calves, but we kiss trophies, and we kiss awards. I'm sorry to tell you this, and I've said this before. I wept for joy when the Chiefs won the Super Bowl last year. We have had over 470,000 Americans die since last March from coronavirus. I'm not sure that I have wept much at all over that. How wrong is that? How upside down is that? So this is what happens when we have idols. We treat some things with great importance, which really shouldn't be, and then we devalue people who ought to be held in great stead. Now tomorrow, we're going to talk about, not tomorrow, we're going to talk about 1 Corinthians. The next day, we're going to talk about Hosea. We're going to talk about how God has a heart that still reaches out to unfaithful people. Thank God for that. In the book of Zechariah, there's this great passage, and let's hone in on that today. God says, return to me, and I will return to you. Let's do it. So thanks for being a part of us. God bless you. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.